us, because they would do certain pieces of work that we would get from clients, and we would do other pieces depending on whether there was a liability or asset emphasis. And it was actually like we sort of tag team quite a bit, which I think it's useful to have both skills, because it's difficult to be highly specialized both spaces.
Yeah. They're very deep. Both spaces are very broad.
Yeah,
deep.
exactly.
It's impossible. I mean, there are people that do that.
But it would take a lot longer than just a standard degree, right? So we've spoken to sort of a shift to quantify, what a quantify is. Speak to your current studies. You said you're doing it at risk. What is that entailing? Is it still in the quantify space? Are you still looking at markets? Speak to what that experience has been like for you.
So the master's that I'm doing is under AFRM. I'm sure some of your listeners don't really know what AFRM is.
What is this?
Yeah. So I was exposed to it in 2020 because I'm a student that was studying through AFRM.
Oh, amazing.
And he did actuarial science, and I was asking him our second year. And I asked him, what should I do after I finish? Like, just finish. Don't even ask this question, buddy. Thinking. But he really highly recommended me this thing called AFRM.
Okay.
And it's African Institute of Financial Markets and Risk Management.
Okay.
So what they put...
Yeah,
it's a mouthful. we had to get it ingrained now.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So my degree deals with a lot of just risk management, quantitative risk management in financial markets. So we will look into different quantitative methods to break down risks with regards to certain financial instruments or strategy or portfolio, and put it in terms that a client that in the future would understand, basically. Because a lot of the risk measures are very, how can I say, ethereal.
Okay.
It's very hard to interpret.
Yeah, it's like you have to be a quant to understand them. So it's not a natural thing to explain to someone who doesn't have that background.
Yeah, so we just need to boil it down to like a singular set of numbers, or like a number.
Yes.
And
you use that to inform a client towards a specific decision.
Basically.
Okay.
I haven't really done much of the degree to understand what other things I would be actually doing.
But it's coursework and thesis, right? So there's a bit where you are learning about specific modeling techniques. So is that the big emphasis of how to model the market?
Model risk,
and risk specifically with regard to assets, right?
Yes.
So it's not just risk in the broader sense, it's risk with regard to assets.
Yes.
And then based off of that sort of understanding you built up, then write a thesis on something in particular.
Yes.
Okay. And why would you, for our listeners, because I'm sure some of them are like, I didn't even know this existed. Why do you think it's helpful to do a master's in that, as opposed to just having to go, having chosen to go work? What would be your thinking around that?
So one of the things with a quantitative analyst is that it doesn't have a board exam that you can write like an actuary does. So, with mainstream actuarial science, you do your asset board exams here, you do your exemptions, then you do your board exams, and you qualify as an actuary, and you can work in the actuarial space.
Yeah.
With regards to the quantitative analyst, there's a lot of, you don't really have to have done actuarial science or quantitative finance. You could have done engineering or anything quantitative, like mathematics and statistics.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then analytics even.
Okay.
And you can apply it to become a quantitative analyst.
Yes.
But it does give us a bit of an edge because we do all those courses all combined into one.
Got you.
Because we do actuarial
Okay,
science.
so it kind of gives you the edge.
But so the only way that you can prove that you are able to deal with the workload and you have the expertise to deal with the client's needs and the company's needs is through a master's.
Okay. Okay, that's really interesting, because I know also at some universities, having qualified as an actress and now being a FASA, I'm recognized as having a master's. And so it makes sense that you would do a master's to be almost recognized on that same qualification.
It's a specialized degree.
Got that.
So just like an actuarial science undergrad is like a professional degree, this is a professional master's.
Okay.
And then hence they made it a 1-year thing. Not just 5. It's like a job that you have to do.
Go deep, is that I see you? Except on email.
Except on email, and every now and again I pop into your
to ask for that made for food.
Thank you for that.
It's all good.
You're like my second mom.
So we've spoken to that. Let's now speak to sort of maybe a slightly more personal side of it, where you were involved in HouseCom, right, and in support systems for students in the actuarial and quantify streams. Talk to why, firstly, you got involved in that and the support that actually offers to the student community in these degrees.
Yes. So I was at varsity since 2019.
Okay.
So I did my undergrad over 5 years.
Okay.
And I think mostly the challenge was, even bigger than the academic challenges, was a mental challenge that I had to go through. I mean, I spent 3 years of my varsity career basically doing this hybrid approach to university.
Of course, this was with the COVID years.
COVID times. 2020 lockdown happened in my second year. 2021 was also still lockdown.
Yes, fully online.
2022 it was when it was starting to ease up a little bit, but it wasn't fully open yet.
It was still a hybrid situation.
Hybrid situation. And then last year was the only year that I had like fully on since 2019. So I struggled quite a bit mentally. I didn't give myself that time to rest or to talk to people about the challenges that they're facing, and then being able to build that sort of camaraderie between students that's going through the same struggle.
Yeah.
And no one to really give me advice.
Yeah.
That was the toughest thing.
You feel a little bit like lost at sea.
Yeah, of course.
Especially because, as you said, like your parents didn't necessarily know what it was. And so there isn't like a natural person to turn to, especially because all your classmates. By secondly, you haven't made all your mates yet. You know, you've only just got to know people. And so you must have felt a little bit isolated in that experience.
Yes. But I don't think it was just me feeling that. Everyone was going through that.
100%.
And it's a bit of a... It was a bit of a sad moment for me, retrospectively, if I think about it, that it was such an isolated time. I spent most of the days studying.
Yeah.
And I went through a kind of a burnout in third year.
Yeah.
And that was when I decided, okay, look, I need to think about this, because the courses that I was struggling with the most was contingencies.
Okay.
And that was right about when I was having my wobbly season. And I sat down. That's when I was thinking about quantitative finance and what I enjoyed throughout university and how can I keep doing what I enjoy rather than...
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's a good question to ask, actually, because I know so many students are just pushing and pushing and pushing, and they never stop to ask, like, is this actually what I want?
My friend would vouch for it. I think we're just going off a tangent.
Let's do it.
My friend that I started varsity with.
Is this a valuable friend or non-valuable friend?
Very valuable.
Very valuable.
Very valuable. Okay. He went to high school with me.
Okay.
And then he graduated high school.
Private school boy.
He's a private school boy. Okay, if you didn't know, I went to Bishops.
Private school.
Ah, God. Oh, don't do that.
Sorry, you know I always do that.
I always do that. But anyway, he started with me. He finished in 4 years. He was super clever dude. Got like 10 exemptions, and I went to Memento. I met up with him for the high school reunion that I went to recently. And I had a long chat with him for 2 hours about, how we were.
So cool.
It was nice because I haven't seen him since 2022.
Sure.
Because he was busy working elsewhere.
Of course.
And his work's in Tiger Valley, Momentum's in Tiger Valley.
Got you. So it's not close by.
Yeah. So I met up with him, caught up with him, and he was saying that he is regretful that he didn't sit down while he was doing his undergrad and really think about what he was enjoying.
Sure.
And he isn't, I don't know how much of this I can actually tell.
Yeah, but like that in and of itself is a useful, I think you don't have to share someone else's story to take the learning there to say, you know what, sometimes I'm now 7 years out of varsity, and I also sometimes think, like, I set my mind on becoming an actuary, and I did it. And I remember once I had finished my exams, there was a part of me that was like, what am I supposed to do now? And so it's like, I think you have to constantly check in with yourself. And I think that is a learning, because sometimes you define a dream and you don't constantly reassess whether it's still the dream that you want. And dreams need to be reassessed because you change.
Exactly.
And as you change, some dreams don't change and some do. Like, so for me, I've wanted to be a teacher since I was 3, and that dream has never changed for me. But the type of actuary that I want to be and how I want to contribute in the actuarial space has changed a lot since I qualified as an actuary. And you have to be okay with that.
I think the biggest problem of realizing that this is not exactly what I want to do is the prestige that this degree has
100%.
and that this job entails.
Yes.
Is that I have signed up to do this, something great like this.
Yes.
And I don't want to give
like
this.
summiting this month kind of thing.
But are you gaining as much as you're losing if you in your
Look at you with your cost benefit analysis.
Yeah, exactly. Actuarial.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
What can we say?
right.
But yeah, it's one of those things. I think a lot of the students that are in the STEM field
Yes.
are very logical thinkers, and they believe that all the problems that we are faced with, we can fix it.
Yeah, and it also must be approached in a certain rigorous way,
Yes.
and that's not always the case.
At the
It's
time,
what you want.
inputted is
Exactly.
result output.
Exactly.
It's like and it equals
the
happiness.
model, right?
Yeah,
As-
it's like
and-
that's not how
not
a
how
human
it
being
works.
works.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
what you like might change.
Yeah.
And every person is different, going through a different stage in life. So, you know, at some stages, I also had to go through a lot of like familial issues and, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, life happens.
Exactly.
Exactly. And those times you have to check in with yourself and see what to prioritize.
Yeah.
And what I decided was that I sometimes need to prioritize my happiness,
Okay.
which I believe a lot of students don't do.
So was that the back of, or off the back of, the contingencies being something really difficult?
Yes.
Deciding that
I was always struggling
follow-
with actuarial specific courses.
That's so interesting.
Like intros. I did okay with intros.
But it was-
I just never...
And now you've introduced tutor. I feel like there's a redemption story.
I told you, toxic trait. I always put myself through these type of situations.
I mean, I'm deeply thankful that you're first tutor. It's an joy to work with you. But I think, so you say, okay, the actuarial subject's difficult, you sad to go fine. But then what was also the shift when it came to getting involved in HouseCon and supporting other students? Was it something you were like, I can see this is a need and I want to be involved in this? Or what was that kind of shift in your own mind?
I think I missed interaction with human beings, like people, students, and
like in person.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a force of screen.
I had my I grew up in Cape Town, so I had my
you had a
friends.
community.
I had a community, but I wanted to have a community within UCT.
Yeah.
So firstly, I wanted to be a part of a team here.
Yeah.
And secondly, I wanted to provide something that I missed out on.
Yeah.
Which was advice and fellow students helping you out if you had going through some struggles with this degree. Because I didn't get that advice because of the COVID lockdowns and having, limited physical contact.
Yeah.
With people.
And connections and networks.
Exactly.
You naturally kind of can make that more than you in person.
Exactly. So I think HouseCon kind of...
Maybe let's just start there. What is HouseCon? Because I think, for someone who's listening to this cold, they're like, what are these people talking about?
So
what is HouseCon?
So HouseCon has a lot of definitions, but I'm going to just boil it down to, it's a group of students that does actuarial science.
Yeah.
That's willing to help out other students if they come for help.
Okay.
Come asking for help, whether it's academic help or, mental health.
Mm-hmm.
We can't help professionally, but we can provide them to different...
Point them to one specific resources, etc.
Exactly, like student advisors or the welfare services or even a professional outside of UCT.
Yeah.
And it's just creating social events as well, where actuarial science students
meet each other,
talk to one another, because we have the tendency to just stick to our books and go home and study for 12 hours. And not see a human being and not use around, and I don't think that's healthy.
No.
So HouseCon, we try to provide these events, hikes. We've had a couple of hikes last year.
I've really seen those.
And we went for a couple of walks as well. Nice. We had like a mentorship introductory evening as well. Just a wholesome moments for actuarial science students. Can be weary, can be tired, want human interaction.
Yes. And a bit of encouragement, right?
Yeah,
I think something that I saw last year, like when we had events where students would meet an actuary or a student who was like just a step ahead of them, and the encouragement you can get from those interactions to be like, oh, they also struggled and now they're there, so it's like it is possible.
It's possible.
And just like a little, maybe the odd word of encouragement that goes along with that. So I think that leads us towards I think my last question. I'm going to say,